New rules. Which one of these new rules do you think will be the most impactful? And now there's no tush-push rule. That to me probably would have been the most impactful, but technically not a new rule. That it's continuing to be as is the past few years. Touchbacks will now result in the ball being placed at the 35-yard line as opposed to the 30. Let's just say touchbacks are like 3 points at this. Like, what are we doing here? Both teams are now guaranteed at least one possession in overtime. So the playoff rule, how it was implemented, is now in the regular season. Onside kicks can be attempted at any point during the game now, not only in the fourth quarter like it was previously.
Mm-hmm.
As long as they're alerted, though, it's still, you got to.
We're going to do an onside kick.
Yeah, right. And then there's a virtual tracking system that will be used now for down and distances, with the traditional on-field crew still on hand if the original system, or if the primary system of virtual tracking fails.
This is a measurement system, correct? Not just a, hey, it's fourth down, check with the computer.
Correct. This is where the ball.
This is exciting. This is what we used to talk about as middle schoolers when, like, we'd see the chain gang over there cramping up in August, September in Virginia. Sorry,
you didn't just say chain gang.
The measurement crew. The measurement crew. Yeah, sorry, we canceled, or I canceled chain gang last year. The measurement crew over there, and they're like cramping up. They can't do it. I'd be like, what if we just had a ball with a chip in it, or some sort of camera on the pylon, or a laser that goes across? Guys, we got it, okay? So we've got a virtual tracking system that keeps track of downs and distances. We are in the future, boys and girls. Buckle up, okay? This is the tip of the spear. This thing got slid under there, under the radar, and everybody's not even like freaking out about it. This is bigger than AI, okay? If this kind of technology comes to football, this is just the leading edge of a much larger blade.
Yeah, I think the sport that to me has utilized technology, like the one I think of when I think of like this type of technology, ball track, tennis. You watch a tennis match, they have the cameras, they know, you can challenge if a ball went in or if a ball went out. If you're that accurate, if that's the thing though with this technology, is it better be freaking 100% the way, pitch tracking is in baseball for the strike zone, or else people are going to be a little upset. People are going to get a little upset.
And with the push being a thing still, when's the computer going to say the ball's dead? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
If you don't have clear vision, so is it cameras that are looking at downs and distances, or is there a chip in the football?
I believe it's a camera system.
So there's some holes in
both.
This.
So it's kind of like both. It has cameras plus
triangulation.
Something in football. Yes.
Okay, so there is something in the football, because with the tush push, sometimes you think the play's over, the whistle's not blown, then the offensive lineman push guys. Next thing you know, you're 5 yards down the field. Will the computer say he was down there? Or will he say 5 yards? And then on the defensive side of the ball, if I tackle somebody, if I wrap somebody up, pick them up, and somebody tush pushes me 5 yards back with them, is it going to be 5-yard loss, or is it, this implementation's cool. I think it's really cool. But there's gray area because of some of the other rules that we decided on or didn't decide on that will make it tough to enforce some of this stuff.
So Sony's Hawkeye system has 6 8K cameras that will optically track the ball's position on the field. Now, I have not read exactly how they're going to implement sort of the whistle plus, like when is it down? When did the guy stop going?
Yeah. Does the Sony Hawkeye have hawk ears as well? Can I hear whistles?
We'll see. But that one to me is definitely the one that every single game, it seems like we're probably for the first half of the season, we'll be discussing, how it works. But if it works seamlessly, the conversation stops real quick. But if it doesn't work seamlessly, kind of like, remember when we had the PI reviews, when it was not seamless, when they're doing those reviews and you're like, why the hell aren't they overturned this? That was obviously PI, or why the hell did that overturned? That was not PI. That's when you're going to have a sort of news story that we're talking about all season long. But I would hope the NFL has tested this enough, and I think they have. to know that it's pretty accurate. All right, next bucket. New head coaches. Which one of these guys is going to have the best season? Chicago Bears, Ben Johnson. Jaguars and Liam Cohen. Raiders and Pete Carroll. Pats and Mike Vrabel. Saints and Kellen Moore. Jets and Aaron Glenn. Cowboys and Brian Schottenheimer. 7 new ones. Who comes out on top?
Well, you said pick one to have the best season. And the best is relative to how you were last year.
Yes, it is.
So I think that's really important to keep in mind. I'm not going to be talking about the Jets. I'm not going to be talking about the Cowboys. I'm not going to be talking about the Saints. If we see Trevor Lawrence get influenced by Liam Cohen in the way that I think he's going to be influenced, and the implementation of BTJ and Travis Hunter into that offense should be a lot of fun to watch. We could be seeing them have a great season. Mike Vrabel obviously is going to have success in New England. He is going to have success in New England. Do I think he'll have the best success out of this group? I don't know. But relative to where they were at, I'm going to be damn impressed. I think that Ben Johnson will have a massive impact in Chicago. Then again, we were just talking about it. How long is it going to take Caleb Williams to adhere to some of his principles offensively? Then the Las Vegas Raiders come up. And I think that this could be the biggest surprise out of this group because of the offensive mind and Chip Kelly. The youth movement, it's an oxymoron to say it's a youth movement with Pete Carroll, but his energy, his cultures are youthful. Guys take pride in going to work, and they have a ton of fun doing it. Talk to anybody who played for him in Seattle, at USC. They loved Pete Carroll. I think that Geno Smith was a huge win for the Raiders. Their offensive line's awesome. I think Colton Miller is a glass eater at the offensive tackle spot. And with that running game, with Ashton Genty, they could dictate terms of how a lot of these football games go. And with their rush group, watch out.
Yeah, they're healthy. They seem to be healthy. That D-line, it's so talented. I just want to see them healthy. I think you hit the nail on the head. Those first 4, Ben Johnson, Liam Cohen, Pete Carroll, Mike Vrabel, all I think are massive upgrades from previous regimes. All should turn things around very quickly. I just think if I had to pick one, the Patriots are just the best situated for a big-time turnaround. For how bad they were last year, obviously picking number 4 overall, to the division, which is not as difficult as the North, not as difficult where Ben Johnson is, not as difficult as the West where Pete Carroll is, and then just the influx of talent. I said it at one point this offseason. I think it's the most talent I've ever seen any team add in an offseason outside of the quarterback position. Obviously, like when you add a quarterback, that's different, but just like everywhere else, from their draft where they had a zillion picks to free agency where they had the most money of all time to give out, they just completely revamped this roster. It is not last year's Patriots. So new head coach, second-year QB, completely new roster. All those add up to what I think should be a massive turnaround. And then, oh, by the way, they have the easiest schedule of anyone on this list too. So that's why it feels like the easy one. But just any of those first 4 guys, I think if you're a fan of the Bears, fan of the Jags, fan of the Raiders, fan of the Patriots,
it's going to be a fun summer, man. It's going to be a fun summer.
All right, let's get to some Super Bowl favorites, some MVP candidates, which numbers we like the best at the top of this. Run through the odds now, the top Super Bowl contenders. The Eagles are your front runners at plus 650. Buffalo Bills at plus 750. Ravens plus 750. Chiefs at plus 800. Lions plus 1,000. Rams plus 1,800, Commanders plus 2,000, Bengals plus 2,000, Packers plus 2,100, and the Chargers at plus 2,500. Who we like in the most of those numbers?
So this morning at like 6 a.m., I wrote in the Eagles just because they are the odds-on favorite. But I have had a feeling throughout the course of this show today that it's going to be the Baltimore Ravens at plus 750. I could totally see this being the year.
They are, like I said, they're the most complete roster. If you just go through unit by unit, there's nowhere where you're pointing to and being like, that could cost them a Super Bowl. That could lose them a playoff game, right? Like every unit's good enough to get into the dance. And that's obviously why they've been so successful, won so many games over the past 2 seasons, but unfortunately haven't gotten over the hump. I do think they are well situated. If I'm betting, though, it's still a low number to bet. And the AFC's dogfight. I like the Commanders at plus 2,000.
That's crazy.
We saw Jaden Daniels as a rookie already look like the way he looked, right? And that was a rookie year. Rarely in NFL history has a guy peaked as a rookie. Like there is probably a next step in the tank. And the next step in the night could just be because, well, they added some talent to the offensive side of the ball as well. They added Deebo Samuel. They added Laramie Tunsil. Like, it could be the best offense in the NFL run away from it, given the talent that's in that building. And I think defensively it should be much better, too, with all the additions they had in free agency and via the draft. So, all expected, I like that team at plus 2,000. Obviously, when you're on the doorstep a year ago, when you're one of the 4 best teams and you're on the outside looking in terms of the 4 best odds, I'm going to like your chances. I like some down-the-board plays, though. I'm going to pump the Bucs tires all offseason. I think this is a fantastic football team. They're at plus 3,500 right now.
Wow.
That's one of my favorite bets. And the Broncos at plus 4,000 as well. Anytime you could tell me you got a dominant unit, like a unit that goes into every single week and says, we are going to kick your ass with this unit. That is the Broncos secondary right now. And almost the Broncos defensive line, right? Like, the Broncos defensive line is outstanding, but their secondary is the best secondary in the NFL. Pat Surtain, Riley Moss, Jahdae Barron, Brandon Jones, Talanoa Hufanga. This is going to be a very difficult team to pass against. So, they already were last year. So when you have that, and then again, similar argument with Commanders, quarterback going into year 2, it will get better. He will be better. They have more weapons around him now. They still have a great offensive line that brings everyone back. I don't know. I think plus 4,000 is very long odds for a team that was like all signs point to arrows going up, right? For both those teams, the Bucs and the Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, the Broncos Bucs, that would be fun, and the number for the Bucs is astronomical considering where we had their win totals at last week. Yeah, and you also had Todd Bowles as the coach of the year, I believe. So that could be something to look for. That could be something to look for, people out there. So I've got obviously I picked the Ravens, but we're going to the MVP odds here, right?
MVP odds. Last segment.
So I picked the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. I am going to be picking Joe Burrow to win the MVP because I stood on the table just through the wall here in the studio at the end of last fall, and I said, I know that he's not going to the dance, but he should still be the prom king. He should still win the MVP. That's Joe Burrow. I thought he was the best quarterback in football last year, and not to take anything away from the other guys that were in contention for the MVP award. But Joe Burrow is the guy, and we're going to see that this year. Al Golden's going to have the defense playing a little bit better, I would imagine, and the offense is going to be who they are, which is damn good, which is best in show. MVP, Joe Burrow.
Yeah, if the Bengals had the 15th ranked defense last year, and it's crazy to say, he probably wins the MVP, right? Like, he's probably your MVP award winner right now. And the odds are Lamar Jackson at plus 550, Josh Allen at plus 550 as well. No surprise there. You're 1 and 2 from a year ago. Joe Burrow at plus 650, Patrick Mahomes at plus 700, Jane Daniels at plus 750. I'm right there with you with Joe Burrow. We picked him last week. I do just think that it's all set up for if this team just bounces back, makes the playoffs. Like I said, I think they're trying to give them 2 guys. Mahomes has his, Lamar has his, now Josh has his. They're going to spread it around to that tier 1 of quarterbacks in the NFL. So if Burrow's in the mix, I think you'd have a lot of voters lean Burrow if it's close. Some down the board guys, though, that if you want to take like a long shot, Michael Penix at plus 6,600. That's a long shot. I can't believe how low those odds are, though, for the second-year breakout quarterback.
Where's Caleb Williams on here?
Caleb Williams is plus 2,500, I believe, so a lot less of a long shot. But the same number as C.J. Stroud, and I like C.J. Stroud a little bit more if I'm betting the 2 of those guys. I like Baker at plus 3,000.
Love Baker at plus 3,000.
If the Bucs are who I think they are going to be this year, which is a very good team who plays the easiest schedule of the top contenders in the NFC, so they could end up your 1 seed with 13 wins. Baker could put up 40 touchdowns, 4,500 yards again the way he did last year. And it's like, if he has those numbers on a number 1 seed, you'll see some deference and some votes start to go his way. So for a long shot, plus 3,000, I like that. And also Matt Stafford, plus 5,000. A guy who could be a career achievement sort of MVP award given to him if he really is in the mix there. And with Devontae, with Puka, and if the offensive line stays healthy, he could put up these kind of numbers to get in that mix. So those are some of my favorite bets. But if I had to pick who wins it, yeah, I'm right there with you, Joe Burrow.
Joe B.